Therapadana, the legend of the Buddhas. Buddha chapter the 1st. Praise him, the blessed one, the worthy one, the fully complete Buddha. The sage of Vedaha, his body bent, asked, the thus gone one dwelling in Jetavana. Indeed there are those called omniscient Buddhas. Through what causes do they become so, hero? Then spoke the omniscient, outstanding, great sage, to lucky Ānanda with his honeyed voice, who performed service among former Buddhas, but didn't get freed in their dispensations, because that is the means to awaken wise, they with sharp knowing through knowledge and power, because of their wishes and also great strength, do come to attain that state of omniscience. I too among former Buddhas, did wish to become a Buddha. Through my mind alone there were innumerable Dhamma kings. Now listen with purified minds to the legends of the Buddhas, innumerable Dhamma kings, who fulfilled 30 perfections. I worshipped them bowing my head, having praised with 10 fingers pressed, those world chiefs with followers and the best Buddhas awakening. I brought it all forth with my mind, things on the ground and in the sky, uncountable as are the gems found in the fields of the Buddhas. I created a palace there, with a floor made out of silver, various floors made out of gems, arose and stretched up toward the sky. There were varied well-made pillars, well-proportioned, very costly. The central beam was made of gold. The gate was canopy adorned. The first floor, lapis lazuli, was lovely as a stainless cloud. Lotus ponds were scattered about, on a floor made of superb gold. A coral floor, coral-colored, was red and very beautiful. That floor lit up the directions, with light the hue of red beetles. Doors and windows and turrets too, and 4 railings were well laid out. It had a scented bamboo net, which was delightful to the mind. There were excellent gabled roofs, colored blue and yellow and red, white and also mixed black and white, adorned with the 7 gemstones, lovely pictures of birds and beasts, and lotuses fashioned for looks. It was adorned with moon and sun, dotted with star constellations. It was covered with a gold net, furnished with little golden bells. Those gold garlands sang in the force of the wind, delighting the mind. A garland of flags was hoisted, dyed in a spectrum of colors, some light crimson, others deep red, tawny, yellow and yellowish. Numerous various hundreds of slabs were made out of silver, made of crystal, made of ruby, and likewise made out of cat's eye. Various diverse couches were spread with soft Benares muslin, rugs, fine silk, and cloth from China, fibrous cloth and yellow garments. All of these various carpets, I laid out on them with my mind, on this floor and that floor too, ornamented with huts of gems. Effulgent torches made of gems are being carried and fixed well. Columns and pillars are splendid, and beautiful golden gateways, made of special gold and hard woods, and also made out of silver. Varied windows, well proportioned, painted crossbars adorned the doors, with pots of plenty on both sides, filled with lotuses and lilies. I conjured up all past Buddhas, world leaders, their assemblies too, with their natural complexions and forms, and all their followers. Having entered through the doorway, all the Buddhas and followers sat down on chairs all made of gold, and formed an exalted circle. Those Buddhas who live here and now, who have no rivals in the world, and those who lived in former times, I brought them all into the world. Lonely Buddhas, many hundreds, self-dependent, unconquered ones, and those who lived in former times, I brought them all into the world. There are many wishing trees there, who are both human and divine. Having arranged all of the cloth, I give them each the triple robe, filling lovely bowls made of gems. I then provided alms to them, foods that were soft and hard foods too, well-prepared food and drink to taste, being given burnished cloth robes, which were just like divine garments, honey and crystallized sugar, sesame oil and sugar cane juice, with milk rice, each one satisfied, They formed an exalted circle, having entered a jeweled room. Like a lion its secret cave, they got onto priceless couches. In the sleeping lion posture, mindfully rising up they then sat cross-legged on those couches, filled with delight in altered states, the pasturage of all Buddhas. Some are preaching their doctrines then, while others sport in miracles. Others apply special knowledges, masters of special knowledges. Various locks of others still transform into various shapes. Buddhas are questioning Buddhas about the range of omniscience. Understanding deep, abstruse points, they achieve their awakenings. Followers questioning Buddhas, Buddhas questioning followers, questioning one another they then provide each other answers. Buddhas and lonely Buddhas too, followers and the attendants, thus delighting in devotions, are really enjoying the palace. Let there be carried overhead a pearl net draped umbrella, combined with more nets made of gold, and also of silver and gems. Let there be awnings made of cloth, decorated with golden stars, and with diverse garlands spread out. Let all be carried overhead. They are spread out with floral wreaths, and beautified with scented wreaths, studded with wreaths made out of cloth, decorated with wreaths of gems. They are strewn with varied flowers, and scented with fragrant perfumes, marked with special scented palm prints, and covered with golden covers. Let lotus ponds in 4 directions, full of lotuses and lilies, appear like they were formed of gold, exuding dusty lotus pollen. Let all the trees that are around the palace burst forth into bloom, and in the evening let those flowers release sweet scents, sprinkling the realm. Let peacocks there begin to dance to the songs of heavenly swans, and let cuckoos make melodies. On all sides there's a choir of birds. Let all the drums now be sounded. Let all the stringed instruments wail. Let all the choruses commence. On every side of the palace, let there be couches made of gold, very large, endowed with brightness, without blemish, fashioned with gems. Throughout the field of the Buddhas, and in the universe beyond, let the stands of lamps be lighted. Let a series of 10,000 all burn as though one single flame. Let courtesans and dancers dance, and troops of celestial nymphs. Let them put on various shows, on all the sides of the palace, on treetop or mountaintop, or the crest of Mount Sinnaru. I am raising up all the flags, decorated and 5-colored. Let people, snake gods, music nymphs, and all the gods come forth as well. In homage, hands pressed together, they attended on the palace. Whatever is wholesome karma, which deeds were to be done by me, with body, speech, and with my mind, I did them well to reach heaven. Whichever beings have consciousness, and also those who aren't conscious, let every one of them receive the fruit of merit done by me. That which I did was widely known. I gave away that good deed's fruit, and gods went off to make it known to all those who were unaware. Let all the beings in all worlds, whose lives depend on eating food, receive by means of my own mind all appetizing things to eat. With my mind these alms were given. With my mind the palace was built, and likewise so were worshipped all the Buddhas, lonelies, and followers. Due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve, discarding my human body, I went to Tvetisa then. I witnessed 2 kinds of rebirth, as a human and as a god. I do not witness other states. That's the fruit of mental wishes. Among the gods I am the chief. I am the ruler among men, endowed with beauty and good marks, in knowledge unrivaled each birth, savory foods of different types, and fabulous precious gemstones, likewise clothes of various sorts, quickly come to me from the sky, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods. Whenever I stretch out my hand, divine foods are coming to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods. Whenever I stretch out my hand, all gemstones are coming to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods. Whenever I stretch out my hand, All perfumes are coming to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods, whenever I stretch out my hand, all vehicles then come to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods, whenever I stretch out my hand, all garlands are coming to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods, whenever I stretch out my hand, all ornaments then come to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods, whenever I stretch out my hand, all maidens are coming to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods, whenever I stretch out my hand, granulated sugar comes to me, on flat earth so on a mountain, in the air, in water or woods, whenever I stretch out my hand, all solid foodstuffs come to me, to attain supreme awakening. I gave many excellent gifts, to the poor and to the gypsies, to beggars and to travelers, making the rocky mountains shout, and likewise making dense hills roar, making the world with its God's smile. I become Buddha in the world. There's no end to going about. In the world in 10 directions. And in this quarter of the world. The Buddha fields can't be counted. My twofold rang miracle is splendid and very well known. Therein a net of flames appears, and vast effulgence is produced. In so many universes, let all the people see me there. Let them all be made most happy, and follow me as their model. Beat the drum of deathlessness, with its sweet and distinguished sound. Let all the people in that space listen well to the honeyed song. May all of them be undefiled, on whom the cloud of Dhamma reigns. Let even lowly beings there become those who enter the stream. I gave the gifts that should be given, fully fulfilling the precepts, going into perfect disgust, supreme awakenings attained, having inquired of the learned, having made extreme exertion, going into perfect patience, supreme awakenings attained, strengthening my resolution, I fulfilled the truth perfection, going into perfect loving, supreme awakenings attained, in getting and in not getting, in pain or pleasure, scorn or fame, remaining everywhere the same, supreme awakenings attained, looking at laziness with fear, and with love upon exertion, be those exerting selves with faith. That's the advice of the Buddhas, looking at quarrels full of fear, and with love upon agreement, join together in harmony. That's the advice of the Buddhas, looking at carelessness with fear, and with love upon attention, now cultivate the Eightfold Path. That's the advice of the Buddhas. Many Buddhas come together, and also all the Arahants. Pay homage while you're worshipping the Buddhas and the Arahants. Thus the Buddhas can't be fathomed. Unfathomable their teaching, unfathomable's the result of pleasure in what can't be fathomed. Thus the Blessed One spoke the short discourse on Dhamma called The Legend of the Buddhas, which was productive of his own Buddha conduct. The legend of the Buddhas is completed. Therapadana, the legend of the lonely Buddhas. Now listen to the legend of the lonely Buddhas. The sage of Vedaha, his body bent, asked, the thus gone one dwelling in Jetavana. Indeed there are those called the lonely Buddhas. Through what causes do they become so, wise one? Then spoke the omniscient, outstanding, great sage, to lucky Ānanda with his honeyed voice, who performed service among former Buddhas, but didn't get freed in their dispensations, because that is the means to awaken wise, they with sharp knowing through knowledge and power, because of their wishes and also great strength, reach the awakening of lonely Buddhas. In every world, with the exception of me, there is no equal for the lonely Buddhas. I will describe a piece of the excellent character of those Buddhas, the great sages. All of you with well-pleased minds, aspiring for the unsurpassed medicine, hear by yourselves the excellent sayings which are short and sweet of those great sages who were lonely Buddhas, which are explanations of generations. of lonely Buddhas who gathered together, and a story of dispassion for danger, and likewise how they achieved awakening, with awareness detached from passionate things, mind not delighting in delights in the world, abandoning obstacles, throbbing conquered, thereby indeed they achieved awakening, putting away the stick among all beings, not causing harm to a single one of them, with a loving mind, friendly, compassionate, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, putting away the stick among all beings, not causing harm to a single one of them, not wishing for sons, let alone companions. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Affections arise for one with connections. This dis-ease proceeds in line with affections. Seeing the danger that's born of affections, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Feeling compassion for friends and companions, one puts off the goal, mind tied to their problems. Seeing that fearfulness in intimacy, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. One who is attentive to sons and to wives, is entangled like a large bamboo thicket, not stuck to others like a new bamboo shoot. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, just as a deer, not ensnared, goes for pasture. In the forest according to its wishes, a knowing man looks after independence. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Resting, standing, going, wandering there is some invitation amidst one's companions. Looking after independence most don't want. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Amidst one's companions there is delighting in sports, and there is abundant love for sons. Though hating separation from what's held dear, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Global in outlook, one is causing no harm, being happy with whatever comes one's way. An endurer of troubles, not stiff with fear, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Even some who have gone forth are ill-disposed. Likewise some householders living in the house, being unconcerned about others' children. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, shedding the attributes of life in the house. Like an ebony tree whose leaves have fallen, the hero severs the ties to household life. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. If one should obtain a clever companion, a co-wanderer who lives well and is wise, after having overcome every trouble, one would wander with that one, thrilled and mindful. If one should not get a clever companion, a co-wanderer who lives well and is wise, then like a king quitting a conquered kingdom, one should wander alone, like tuskers in the woods. Truly we're praising success with companions. Those who are better or equal should be served. Not getting those, not enjoying sinful things, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Seeing shiny bangles made out of fine gold, which have been well made by the son of a smith, banging together when two are on one arm. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Like that, with another there will be for me meaningless chatter or ill-tempered bad speech. Seeing that as a danger for the future, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Sense pleasures are varied, sweet and delightful. They churn up the mind with their varying form. Seeing danger in the strands of sense pleasure, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. For me this is calamity, misfortune, a sickness, a sharp arrow, a fearsome thing. Seeing this fear in the strands of sense pleasure, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Freezing cold and scorching heat, hunger and thirst, wind and hot weather and gadflies and serpents. Having vanquished even all of those problems, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Just as a noble elephant with a full, grown spotted body, abandoning the herd, might dwell in the woods, however it wishes, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. One who is fond of company cannot touch liberation even temporarily. Heeding with care those words of the sun's kinsman, one should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. Freed from incessant wrangling of opinions, gaining the way, getting the path with the thought, I know I am not to be led by others. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, freed from greed, without deceit, and thirst-free, lacking hypocrisy, fault and folly-free, becoming intention-free in the whole world. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, avoiding not consorting with an evil companion who is blind to the goal, who gets into trouble, who intends things, is slothful. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. One should consort with someone noble, a friend, very learned, Dhamma-bearer, skilled preacher, discerning one's own goals, removing all doubt. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, not embellishing, not looking after sport, nor delights, pleasures, happiness in the world, abstaining from adornment, telling the truth. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, having given up sense pleasures completely, including sons and wives, father and mother, wealth and grain, and also all one's relatives. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, mindful, discerning. This is an attachment. The happiness here is trifling, little fun. Here there is much suffering. This is a shaft. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, having broken to bits one's own hindrances, like a fish breaking a net in the water, like fire that does not return to what is burnt. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, with eyes cast downward, not just goofing around, having senses guarded and mind protected, not filled with desire, not burning as though fire. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, discarding the attributes of household life, just like a coral tree with fallen off leaves, departing the house wearing the saffron robe. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, not greedy for good tastes, not wavering, not feeding others on unbroken begging rounds, with a mind that's not bound to this clan or that. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, abandoning the 5 hindrances of mind, having pushed away all of the defilements, independent affection and hate removed. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, putting happiness and suffering behind, and even in the past mental joy and pain, attaining equanimity, calm and pure. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, with strenuous effort to reach the best goal, with mind unstuck and behavior attentive, with firm exertion having strength and power. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, not quitting solitude or meditation, always living among things by the teaching, grasping the danger within existences. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, aspiring to destroy craving, not lazy, not foolish, learned, possessing mindfulness, probing the teaching, restrained, energetic. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, not terrified, like a lion hearing sounds, unentangled, as is the wind in a net, not smeared, like a pink lotus by the water. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, having overcome like a strong-toothed lion, the king of beasts wandering victorious. One should make use of lodgings that are remote. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, practicing love, equanimity, pity, release or joy for others at the right time, being unobstructed by the entire world. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, quitting passion and hatred and delusion, having broken to bits one's own hindrances, not trembling at the moment when life's destroyed. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn. They associate, they embrace with some motive. Friends without motives are hard to find these days. Wise about self-interest, people aren't pure. One should wander alone, like a rhino's horn, with pure morals and with very pure wisdom, attentive, applying selves to mindfulness, insightful, seeing the teaching's distinction, knowing the aspects of path and of wisdom, in a victor's dispensation practicing, merit, aspiration and thus gaining signs, wise ones who don't go on to have followers, become lonely victors, those self become ones. with vast Dhamma and many Dhamma bodies, mind lords, crossing the flood of all suffering, with thrilled minds, seers of the ultimate goal, analogues of lions, like a rhino's horn, with tranquil senses, with tranquil minds, composed, acting mindfully for neighboring beings, lamps shining the light of ultimate truth here. These lonely Buddhas are constantly honored. All obstacles abandoned, lords of people, lamps of the world, shedding light like heaps of gold, free of doubt and good for the world to look at. These lonely Buddhas are constantly honored. The clever sayings of the lonely Buddhas are circulating in the world with its gods. Having heard, those who don't act that way are fools. They spin in suffering again and again. The clever sayings of the lonely Buddhas are as sweet as if they were flowing honey. Having heard, those who practice accordingly become seers of the four truths, very wise. These lofty verses spoken by those victors, lonely Buddhas, gone forth into homelessness, were made known for apprehending the teaching by the Sakyan lion, the ultimate man. With pity for the world, these transformations of those self become ones, the lonely Buddhas, were made known by him, the self become lion, for increasing emotion and connection. The legend of the lonely Buddhas is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 1. Sāriputta. Now listen to the legends of the Theras. Close to the Himalayan range, on the mountain called Lambaka, my ashram is very well made, a well-constructed hall of leaves. There's a river with gentle banks, well fixed, delightful to the mind, and strewn about with bright white sand, not very far from my ashram, free of gravel and free of slopes, excellent without bad odors. The river flows right past that place, making my ashram beautiful. Crocodiles and leviathans, alligators and tortoises. The river flows right past that place, making my ashram beautiful. Sheetfish, pavusa, valaja, reed fish, redfish and magura are flowing with the current there, making my ashram beautiful. Trees that blossom and trees that fruit stand on both banks of that river, overhanging it from both sides, making my ashram beautiful. Mango, sal and coral bean tree, trumpet flower, Chinese chase tree, trees in flower with heavenly scents, are perfuming my ashram then. Sandal, salala, cheesewood too, ironwood, laurel and screw pine, trees in flower with heavenly scents, are perfuming my ashram then. Hyptage vines and ashoka trees, Bajanimala flowering, sage leaf phalangium and red, bimbajal bloom in my ashram. Kataka, Kandali flowers, Kabuka, and Arab jasmine are exuding heavenly scents, making my ashram beautiful. Dinner plate tree and kaika, silver graywood, many black trees, are exuding heavenly scents, making my ashram beautiful. Laurel and mountain laurel trees, and ebony all blossoming, are exuding heavenly scents, making my ashram beautiful. Golden shower, winter cherry, kadam and Spanish cherry trees are exuding heavenly scents, making my ashram beautiful. Alaka and Isamuga, banana also citron trees, matured on the sweet-smelling water, are bearing forth their flowers there. Some pink lotuses are blooming, others are producing pollen. Some pink lotuses are budding, always flowering in the tank. Pink lotuses germinate there. The lotus roots are being cleansed. Singi leaves are strewn about, making that tank so beautiful. Nayita shrubs, ambigandi, utali, bandujavaka, all in bloom then in the tank there, are exuding heavenly scents. Sheetfish, also pavusa fish, valaja, reed fish and redfish, and sacula and magura, are living in that tank there then. Crocodiles and alligators, tantigaha and rakasa, ogaha and also pythons, are living in that tank there then. Pigeons and ravi swans as well, ruddy geese and natikaras, Cuckoos, parrots, and mynah birds too are living on that lake there then. In the forest wild jungle fowl, golden crabs, lake swallows too, lapwings and Ceylon lorikeets are living on that lake there then. Swans and curlews and peacocks too, cuckoos and jungle fowl as well, small monkeys as well as pheasants are living on that lake there then. Owls and pohasses too, numerous hawks, also osprey, and also maka birds are living on that lake there then. Spotted deer and also wild boar, and numerous wolves and jackals, rohika deer, sagapodas, are living on that lake there then. Lions and tigers and leopards, bears and wolves, caravana bears, and thrice rutting tagas too are living on that lake there then. Centaurs and monkeys are there too, and folks who work in the forest, servant boys as well as hunters, are living on that lake there then. Wild mangosteen, Kerali nut, Mahua Kashmiria, are bearing never-ending fruit. Not very far from my ashram, Margosa Salala yellow, cheese woods with such excellent fruit, are constantly bearing those fruits. Not very far from my ashram, Myrobalan and gooseberry, mango, rose apple, baera, they constantly are bearing fruit. Bindweed, also Titan arum, Bilani, Takani bulbs, Javaka and Sahaka plants are abundant in my ashram. That well-created tank is there, not very far from the ashram, with clear water, cool for drinking, well-fixed, delightful to the mind, covered with pink and blue lotus, combined with white lotus flowers, and covered again with mandalaka. It exudes a heavenly scent. At that time I was then living in that well-made, lovely ashram, in the woods blooming and fruiting, and thus endowed with everything. I was ascetic Sarusi, of noble conduct, vow-taker, a meditator, trance-lover, strong in the 5 special knowledges. 24,000 students were waiting upon me back then. They all were from the Brahmin caste, of noble birth and glorious. They'd reached perfection in my teachings, of grammar and vocabulary, of synonyms and metrics too, and reading signs and history. They were skilled as interpreters of events and omens and signs. On the earth and ground, in the sky, my students were very well trained. Satisfied they were and prudent, ate little food, had no desires. Happy if receiving or not, they always gathered around me. Meditators, trance lovers, wise, attentive, with peaceful minds, with wishes for only nothing, they always gathered around me. Masters of special knowledges, delighting in their Brahmin ways, able to fly through the sky, most wise, they always gathered around me. They kept the 6 sense doors well closed, were lust-free with guarded sense organs, most wise and not tied down at home. No one came close to my students. At night they always passed the time, meditating seated cross-legged, or walking back and forth in place. No one came close to my students, not aroused in what's arousing, nor defiled in what's defiling, not fooling self in foolish things. No one came close to my students. They spent all their time studying all the miraculous powers. They could set the earth to quaking. With haughtiness none could approach. When those students were playing sports, they sported in the altered states, brought rose apples from distant trees. No one came close to my students. Some would travel to Guyana, others to Pabavitaha, and some to Aturakuru. No one came close to my students. They'd send their requisites ahead, and then they'd proceed after them. The sky was totally covered by 24,000 students. Some ate cooked food and some ate raw. Some ground with teeth, others with mortars. Some ate food that they ground on stone. Some only fruits that had fallen. Some bathed getting into water. Others loved the pure evening rain, while others bathed sprinkling water. No one came close to my students. With nails and armpit hair grown long, muck in their teeth, heads soiled with dirt, and perfumed only with precepts. No one came close to my students. Those famed matted-haired ascetics would assemble in the morning, saying what they'd received and not, then set off flying through the air. A mighty din would issue forth from them as they were taking off. The gods would be most delighted by that sound of their deer hide robes, traveling in all directions. Those sages, flying through the sky, would go to any place they wished. By means of their own vast power, they could set the earth to quaking. All of them were sky travelers, famed ascetics, hard to conquer. They were steady like the ocean. Some walked back and forth meditating. Some sages did so while seated. Some of them lived on fallen fruits. No one came close to my students. They dwelt always in states of love, and were kindly to all creatures. None of them raised his own self up, and they felt hatred toward no one. Fearless like the king of lions, mighty like an elephant king, hard to approach like a tiger, they would come into my presence. Sorcerers and their deities, cobra gods, music nymphs, demons, fairies, titans, and garuas, are living on that lake. Those dread-locked requisite bearers, dressed in superb deer leather clothes, all those sages, sky travelers, are living on that lake there then. As is always appropriate, they respected one another. From 24,000 students, not the sound of a sneeze is heard. One foot placed after the other, making little sound, self-controlled. All of them, after they'd come close, are worshipping me with their heads. Thus surrounded by those students, peaceful, doing austerities, I then dwelt in that ashram there. Meditator, trance lover. My ashram was always perfumed by those sages' morality, and the sense of both blooming flowers, and the different fruits that grew there. By night and day I never know displeasure, nor does it come to me. Giving my students instruction, I am constantly filled with joy, the blossoming of many flowers, and ripening of many fruits, are exuding heavenly scents, making my ashram beautiful. Arising from meditation, I'm zealous and intelligent. Taking ascetics' requisites, I proceeded into the woods. I was well trained to read the signs, surrounding births and portents too. At that time I'd fully mastered all the mantras in existence. Enomadasi, Blessed One, the world's best, the bull among men. The Buddha, seeking solitude, entered the Himalayas then. Going into Himalaya, the supreme, compassionate sage, getting into lotus posture, sat down, the ultimate person. Then I saw that Sambuddha there, shining light, a mental delight, bright like a blue water lily, blazing up like a fire altar. I saw the leader of the world, like a regal sal tree in bloom, blazing forth like a tree of lamps, lightning flaring in a cloud bank. This Naga is the great hero, the sage who ended suffering. After coming to see this one, all suffering was cast away. After seeing that God of gods, adorned with the auspicious marks, I thought, is he Buddha or not? Surely I'm seeing one with eyes. 1,000 will marks are seen on his unsurpassed lovely foot. I, having seen those marks of his, concluded he's the thus gone one. I brought in a broom for sweeping, and having done the sweeping then, I gathered 8 blooming flowers, for puja to that best Buddha. After puja to that Buddha, the flood crosser, undefiled one, placing deer hide on one shoulder, I worshipped the chief of the world, the knowledge by which the Buddha dwells without any defilements. That knowledge I shall now proclaim. All of you listen to my words. May you lift this world up rightly. Self become one, boundless increase. Coming into the sight of you, they cross the rushing stream of doubt. You're the teacher for those who breathe, the banner, the flag, and the pole. You are the goal, the solid ground, the island, the best of bipeds. It's possible to measure the ocean's water by the gallon, but not ever could one measure your knowledge, O omniscient one. It's possible to lift the earth onto a comparable sphere, but not ever could one measure your knowledge, O omniscient one. It's possible to measure all space with a rope or by the inch, but not ever could one measure your knowledge, O omniscient one. One might exhaust the entire earth and all the water in the sea, but similes that might arise won't befit the Buddha's knowledge. whatever goes on in the minds of this world's creatures with its gods, O Eiffel One, all those things too are sunk in your knowledge water, the knowledge by which you attained supreme complete awakening. With that knowledge, omniscient one, you crush rivals and heretics. Having praised with these 9 verses, the ascetic named Surusi, spreading out his dear leather robe, sat down right there upon the earth. They say the king of mountains rose to that height after being sunk in the great ocean for as long as 84,000 eons, and Meru, having thus arisen, being so long and so spread out, bit by bit gets broken into 2 million locks of small pebbles. If one should investigate it, counting the numbers of locks there, still he could not ever measure your knowledge, O omniscient one, whichever water is encircled by water holes however small. The beings who live in water would all find themselves submerged there. In just that way, O great hero, these ordinary heretics who jump into dogma's grasp get deluded by what they touch. These heretics pulled underwater by your knowledge, which is pure and which is seen without obstruction, never move beyond your knowledge. At that time he, the blessed one, Anomidasi, greatly famed, arising from his meditation, surveyed the whole world. That victor, Nasaba, was a follower of that sage Anomidasi. He was surrounded by a lack of peaceful-minded ones like him, who destroyed defilements, were pure, and had the 6 special knowledges. Discerning the Buddha's wishes, he then approached that world leader, standing up in the air right there. They circumambulated him, and praising with 10 fingers pressed, came down to the Buddha's presence. Anomidasi, blessed one, the world's best one, the bull of men, sitting in the monks' assembly, right then made manifest a smile. Varua was the attendant on the omniscient one, great sage, putting his robe on one shoulder. He then queried the world leader, O blessed one, what is the cause of the teacher's breaking a smile? It never is without a cause that the Buddhas begin to smile. Anomidasi, blessed one, the world's best one, the bull of men, seated in the monks' assembly, then spoke these verses in reply. This one who honors me with flowers, and also extols my knowledge, I shall relate details of him. All of you listen to my words. Knowing that Buddha would speak, the gods all came together there then, wishing to hear the great teaching. They then approached the Sambuddha, lesser gods in 10 world systems, who possessed enormous powers, wishing to hear the great teaching. Also approached the Sambuddha. He said, the army with 4 parts, tusker, soldier, chariot, horse, will ceaselessly wait on this one. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. 60,000 instruments and well-decorated kettle drums will always pay respects to him. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Women numbering 16,000, decked out in all the ornaments, with varied clothes and jewelry, and wearing earrings made of gems, with long eyelashes, lovely smiles, and slim waists, pleasant to look at, will ceaselessly wait on this one. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. He'll delight in the world of gods for 100,000 eons. 1,000 times he's going to be the wheel-turning king of a country. 1,000 times the king of gods. He will exercise divine rule, and he will have much local rule, innumerable by counting. When he attains his final birth, he will go to the human state. He will be born out of the womb of the Brahmin woman Sari. Thenceforth this man will be known by the name of his maternal clan. His name will be Sāriputta. He will have sharp intelligence. Giving up 800 million, he will renounce with nothing left, and searching for the path to peace. This great man's going to wander far, eons beyond measure from now, arising in Okaka's clan. The one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world, worthy heir to that one's Dhamma, Dhamma's legitimate offspring, with the name of Sāriputta. He'll be the foremost follower. This river, the Bhagirathi, is fed by the Himalayas, rushes into the mighty sea, then satisfies the great ocean. Just so this man, Sāriputta, wise one among the Sakitas, attaining wisdom's perfection, will satisfy all living beings, going from the Himalayas to the sea, the mighty ocean, whatever sand lies in between, cannot be fathomed by counting. Without remainder he'll be able to fathom that by counting thus, but there will be no upper limit to Sāriputta's own wisdom, counting by hundreds of thousands. One would exhaust the Ganges' sands, but there will be no upper limit to Sāriputta's own wisdom. The waves upon the mighty ocean cannot be fathomed by counting. That too he'll do. Sāriputta's wisdom will have no upper limit, satisfying the Sambuddha, Gautama, bull of the Sakyas. He'll attain wisdom's perfection and be the foremost follower. Perfectly he's going to follow the Dhamma wheel, which will be turned by the Sakya sun, neutral one, a Dhamma shower raining forth. Understanding all of that well, Gautama, bull of the Sakyas, seated in the monks' assembly, will place him in the foremost place. Oh, see the deed I did so well, for teacher Anuruddha, having done what he required. In every place I did excel, karma done immeasurable. Eons hence showed me its fruit here, well liberated arrow quick. I have destroyed my defilements, searching for the unconditioned and unshaking state, nirvana, sousing out all the heretics. I circled through existences, just as a man plagued with disease would investigate all the jungles, searching for medicinal herbs to be released from his illness, searching for the unconditioned state of deathlessness, nirvana, without a break 500 times. I went forth into sagely life, bearing a weight of matted hair. I wore a dear leather garment, perfecting special knowledges. I went to the world of Brahma. There's nothing outside the wisdom laid down in the dispensation. Whatever being's intelligent will discern the dispensation. Then I thought, this is the method. For that me desiring the goal, searching for the unconditioned, I wandered the difficult fords, just as a man wanting its pith, who chops and splits a banana tree, would not thereby attain that pith, but would be devoid of that pith. So too the world's heretics, with their varied views and big crowds, lack that which is unconditioned, like the banana tree lacks pith. When I reached my last existence, I was a kinsman of Brahma, throwing away a whole billion. I went forth into homelessness. The first recitation portion, there was a learned mantra knower, who had mastered the 3 Vedas, a Brahmin known as Sanjaya. I dwelt in his vicinity. O great hero, your follower, the Brahmin known as Asaji, hard to approach with mighty powers, always went about for alms there. I saw that one who was so wise, a sage well used to quietude, a peaceful-hearted elephant, just like a lotus flower in bloom. Having seen him I realized, this man will be a worthy one, well-tamed, whose mind is purified, a bull most excellent, a hero, pleasing in his mode of conduct, beautiful and well self-controlled, tamed in the ultimate taming, a seer of deathlessness he'll be. Why then do I not question him, the happy one, about the goal? Questioned by me he will reply. Then I am asking him questions. I proceeded to follow him. As he wandered about for alms, I was honored with permission to ask about the deathless state. Approaching him along the road, I questioned him in this way then, of which clan are you, O wise one? Whose pupil are you, happy one? Like a lion which is not frightened. He, questioned by me, answered thus, a Buddha's risen in the world. I am his student, a follower. It would be excellent, wise one, O famous one, O Buddha's son, if you'd please declare to me, sir, the sort of teaching Buddha teaches. Questioned by me he then declared, the entire deep and subtle state, in which all sufferings destroyed, and craving's arrow is removed. The thus gone one did speak about the basic causes of all things, and the ceasing of those causes. That is what the great monk declares. When my question had been answered, I had attained the first path fruit. Having heard the dispensation, I was free of stain and blemish. After hearing the sage's speech, having seen the superb teaching, well immersed in that great teaching, I uttered these verses aloud. Even if this teaching goes only this far, you all should discern its grief-free state, as not seen in the past, performing many sacrifices. While seeking Dhamma formerly, I wandered the difficult fords. That meanings now obtained by me, there is no time for neglecting. Greatly pleased by Mahākassapa, attaining to that tranquil state, looking for my co-renouncer, I returned to the ashram then. On seeing me from far away, my companion, who was well trained, who'd learned meditative postures, astonished, spoke these words to me. O sage, your face and eyes are pleased, and you display a sagely mien. How have you come to deathlessness, everlasting state, nirvana? You come conforming to what's good. It is as though you've been made calm, and you've approached me, O Brahmin, tamed in the ultimate taming. I have attained the deathless state, where craving's arrow is destroyed. You too ought to attain to that. Let's go to the teacher's presence. My companion, who was well trained, assented, saying, Excellent, taking his hand into my hand. We went to the teacher's presence. We both of us will now go forth. In your presence, O Sakya's son. Having arrived at your teaching, we will live without defilements. Kalida's top in magic powers. I'm the one foremost in wisdom. The two of us, living as one, beautify the dispensation. While my thought was still incomplete, I wandered the difficult fords. Coming to your philosophy, my thought is now fully mature. Having been planted in the earth, trees blossom forth in their season. They exude their heavenly sense and delight all living beings. In just this way, O great hero, O greatly famed one, Sakya's son, being planted in your teaching, I want to bear flowers in season. I seek the liberation flower, freedom from this circling rebirth. Finding that liberation flower, I'll delight all living beings through this entire Buddha field, except for the great sage himself. In wisdom there is no rival. For me, your son, O Eiffel one. Well instructed are your students. The retinue is so well trained, tamed in the ultimate taming. They always gather around you. Meditators, trance lovers, wise, attentive, with minds at peace, sages who have a sagely mien, they always gather around you. Wanting little, clever and wise, eating little with no desires, happy if receiving or not, they always gather around you. Forest dwellers with wants removed, meditators in shabby robes, who delight in being alone, they always gather around you. Attainers of the 8 path fruits, and those who are still aspiring, searching for the ultimate goal, they always gather around you. Stainless enterers of the stream, and some who are once returners, non-returners and arahants too, they always gather around you. Skilled in retaining mindfulness, fond of wisdom's parts as focus, your followers all and numerous, they always gather around you. Skilled in all the superpowers, fond of calming meditation, undertaking fit exertion, they always gather around you. Perfecting the 3 knowledges, special knowledges, superpowers, attaining wisdom's perfection, they always gather around you. Such indeed are they, great hero, your students who are so well trained, hard to approach with mighty powers, they always gather around you. Surrounded by all those students, ascetics who have been taught well, like a lion which is not frightened, you shine just like the king of stars. Having been planted in the earth, hardwood trees grow up strong and tall. They attain their full abundance, and in season display their fruit. O Sakya's son, O great famed one, you're analogous to the earth. Being fixed in your great teaching, they like the trees grow deathless fruit. The Indus and the Sarasvati are rivers like the Kandabhaga, the Ganges and the Yamuna, the Sarabu and the Mahi too. When those rivers finish flowing, the great ocean accepts them all. Abandoning their former names, they're all known as the great ocean. Likewise these people of 4 castes, who've gone forth into your presence, abandoning their former names, are all known as the Buddha's sons, just as the moon which is unblemished, going across the space in the sky, casting its light upon the world, outshines the entire mass of stars. So likewise you, O great hero, surrounded by the gods and men, going across the Buddha field, are shining brightly all the time. Waves which first arise from the depths go no further than the seashore. When they do come onto the shore, they are crushed to bits and scattered. Just so the world's heretics, with their varied views and big crowds, wishing to possess the teaching, never go further than the sage. If they try attaining to that, through debating, O Eiffel One, having come into your presence, they get thoroughly crushed by you, just as many white lotuses and mandalaka blooms, water-born, do get besmeared by the water, and also by the mud and clay. So too indeed many creatures, who were born and grow up in the world, are pained by their lust and anger, like the white lotus in the mud, just as a pink lotus water-born, growing up in the water's midst, is not besmeared by the water, but rather that lotus is clean. So too are you, O great hero, though born within the world, great sage. You are not besmeared by the world, like the pink lotus by water. Likewise many lotus flowers blossom in the month of April, but do not last beyond that month. That is the time for blossoming. So too are you, O Sakya's son, blooming in your liberation, the dispensations not surpassed, like the water-born lotuses. The king of sal trees all in bloom, exudes a heavenly perfume, surrounded by other sal trees. The king of sal trees is lovely. So too are you, O great hero, blooming with a Buddha's wisdom, circled by the monks' assembly. Like the sal king you are lovely, just as the Himalayan stones, medicine for living beings, and the lair of the lesser gods, and Nagas and Asuras too. So too are you, O great hero, medicine for living beings. You've mastered the 3 knowledges, special knowledges, great powers. They are admonished, great hero, by you but with great compassion. Delighting in love of Dhamma, they dwell in your dispensation. Likewise a lion, king of beasts, going about how he wishes, surveying the 4 directions, then growls 3 times his mighty roar. All the beasts are very frightened, because of that lion's growling. Thus just one beast of noble birth always frightens all of the rest. Because of your growl, great hero, the earth herself begins to quake. Those fit for wisdom realize it, scaring the partisans of death. The heretics are all afraid of your voice, O sage so great. That flock of crows is in a fluster, like the beasts with the Lion King. Those with followers in the world are known by the title teachers. They teach to their community doctrines passed down by tradition. Not so do you, O great hero. Preach your teaching to living beings, understanding the truths yourself. You preach all of awakening, grasping desires and deep fantasies, strengths and weaknesses of senses, discerning who's able, who's not. You thunder forth like a great cloud, right to the universe's edge. Seated groups of followers are thinking through their varied doctrines, trying to resolve all their doubts, reading the minds of everyone, skilled in analogies, O sage, discoursing on single questions. You resolve living beings' doubts. In this world the earth is filled with people like those I've referred to. All of them, hands reverently pressed, should sing the world leader's praises, singing praises for an entire aeon, speaking of diverse qualities. They never could be fully measured. The thus gone one has no measure, thus singing the victor's praises, with all the power that they have, speaking for 10 million eons. This and that would remain unsaid. If any being, God or man, even if he's very well trained, tries to draw the full ocean's water, he would certainly come to grief. Now fixed in your dispensation, O Sakya's son, O great famed one, having reached wisdom's perfection, I'm living without defilements, defeating rival heretics. I further the dispensation. Today I'm the Dhamma's general. In the Buddha's dispensation, karma done immeasurable. Eons hence showed me its fruit here. Well liberated, arrow quick. I have destroyed my defilements. Whatever man who on his head would carry a load every day, he'd be oppressed due to that load, and that burden would be heavy. I transmigrated through lifetimes, being burnt up by the three fires, weighed down by the burden of being, as though I were lifting mountains. My burden now has been laid down, and I've destroyed re-becoming. I've done all things that should be done. In the Buddha's dispensation, through this entire Buddha field, except the Sakyan bull himself, I'm supreme in terms of wisdom. There is no one to rival me. So well trained in meditation, excelling in the superpowers. Today my only desire is to create 1,000 magically, of me who dwelt there by and by. The great sage was the great teacher. He told me the dispensation, cessation happened lying down. My divine eye is purified, and I'm skilled in concentration. Proper exertion is applied. I love wisdom's parts as focus. Everything is done by me, which followers ought to attain, except the leader of the world. There is no one to rival me. Skilled in the attainments and discipline, through altered states I got liberated fast. Fond of wisdom's parts as focus, I've excelled in the follower's virtues. Attaining the follower's virtues, I'm honored by the best of men. My mind is always filled with faith in fellow religious students, like a snake whose poison's destroyed, like a bull whose horns are broken. Freed of my pride and arrogance, I approach with great reverence. If my wisdom were a beautiful girl, she'd hook up with the rulers of earth. This is the fruit of my having praised the knowledge of Anuruddha Buddha. I help keep rolling perfectly the Dhamma wheel which was turned by the Sakya Sun, neutral one. That's the fruit of praising knowledge. May I not ever anywhere meet one whose thoughts are less than pure, who's lazy or lacks energy, is unlearned or immoral. Let only one who is learned, wise, well fixed in moral precepts, and settled into mental calm, come face to face in front of me. I'm saying this to you, O monks, gathered together begging here. Always be happy with slight wants, meditators, trance lovers. That one whom I saw first of all was free of lust and stainless too. He's my teacher, he's the hero, the follower named Asaji. It's on account of him that I, today, am Dhamma's general. In every place having excelled, I'm living without defilements.
I bow my head in reverence
to whatever region he's in. That one who was my own teacher, the follower named Asaji, having called to mind my karma, Gautama, bull of the Sakyas, seated in the monks' assembly, placed me in the foremost place then. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sāriputta Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sāriputta Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 2. Mahā-Moggallāna, Anuruddha, blessed one, the world's best one, the bull of men, was living in the Himalayas, honored by the gods' assembly. I was then a king of snake gods, known by the name of Varua, taking on the form of Cupid. I was dwelling in the ocean. Being in a musical group, I provided the percussion. After serving the Sambuddha, the divine nymphs then sang their songs. When the drums were being beaten, the gods then also beat on drums. Upon hearing the sound of both, the Buddha himself then listened, having invited Sambuddha, that he come over to my house. providing an appointed seat. I announced that it was now time, with 1,000 flawless arahants, following behind that world chief, shining light in all directions, did come over to my house then. I satisfied with food and drink, the great hero who had arrived, the god of gods, the bull of men, along with the monks' assembly. The great hero was delighted, the self-existent, top human, seated in the monks' assembly. He spoke these verses about me, he who worshipped the assembly, and also the Buddha world chief, due to the pleasure in his heart, will go into the world of gods. He will exercise divine rule, 77 different times. He will reside upon the earth, and have 800 earthly reigns, and he'll be a wheel-turning king, 55 different times. All the time they will bring for him uncountable amounts of wealth, eons beyond measure from now, arising in Okaka's clan. The one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world. After having come out of hell, he will go to a human state, known by the name of Kalita. He'll be a kinsman of Brahma. He'll afterwards go forth, renouncing, incited by his wholesome roots. He'll be second chief follower of the blessed one Gautama. Resolved, with strenuous effort, he'll excel in superpowers, knowing well all the defilements. He'll reach nirvana, undefiled, depending on some evil friends, overpowered by lust and anger. Being cruel-minded I slew my mother and my father too, in whichever womb I'm reborn, in hell or else among humans. Since I possess that bad karma, I get murdered, head split open. This is the final time for me. My last rebirth is proceeding, and also here like that for me. A time for getting killed will be, binding myself to solitude, fond of samadhi meditation, knowing well all the defilements. I am now living, undefiled, excelling in superpowers. I shake with only my left thumb this very earth which is so deep, thick and difficult to destroy. I don't feel the pride of I am. No pride at all exists in me, even regarding novices.
I osete with reverence in my heart.
I brought forward the karma done in an aeon so long ago, that I has now attained the earth. I've reached the end of defilements. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Mahā-Moggallāna Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 3. Mahākassapa. When the world chief had passed away, the people with exalted minds, intoxicated with delight, did puja for the neutral one, the teacher who was the world's best, blessed one Pajamuttara. When their religious emotion was born, great joy arose in me. Gathering my family and friends, I spoke these words to all of them. The great hero has passed away. Surely we should do a puja. They agreed, saying, excellent, which made me smile even more. We'll make a meritorious pyre over the Buddha, the world chief. We made a well-made festoon work, which was 100 hands in height, and we raised up into the sky a mansion 50 hands higher. Having made that festoon work there, decorated with rows of stripes, bringing pleasure to my own mind, I worshipped that excellent shrine, like a blazing column of fire, like a regal sal tree in bloom, like Indra's post up in the sky. It shined in the 4 directions. After making my mind pleased there, and doing much that was wholesome, recalling karma from the past, I was born with the 30 gods. I possessed a divine chariot, yoked with 1,000 fine horses. That tall residence of mine there, was 7 stories tall in height. It had 1,000 gabled cells. All of them were made out of gold. It blazed by means of its own power, lighting up every direction. There were also other doorways, all made of rubies at that time. With their light they too illumined the 4 directions entirely. Those well-constructed gabled cells, produced by my past good karma, and all the gemstone doors then shined in 10 directions on all sides. When they were thus all shining forth, there was a massive effulgence. I surpassed all the other gods. That is the fruit of good karma. 60,000 eons ago, I was the king named Abhidita, victorious on all 4 sides. I took the earth as residence. In that most auspicious aeon, for fully 30 times I was a wheel-turning king with great strength, deriving from my own karma, possessor of the 7 jewels. I'm lord of the 4 continents, and in that place my residence was as tall as the tree of Indra. It was 24 leagues in length, and in width it measured 12 leagues. My city was named Ramaka. It had strong ramparts and gateways. It was 500 leagues in length, in width 250 leagues. It was crowded with groups of men, just like the 33 gods' city. Like needles in a needle case, there were 20 different bazaars, where they gather one another. The city was very crowded. Of such a sort was my city, with elephants, horses, chariots, and very crowded with people. Ramaka, excellent city. Having lived there and having left, I returned to the world of gods. In this, my final existence, I'm born in an accomplished clan, born into a Brahmin family. I had a massive heap of gems, 800 million worth of gold. Abandoned, I went forth renouncing. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Mahākassapa Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Mahākassapa Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. For Anuruddha, I caught a glimpse of the world chief, the blessed one named Sumedha, the world's best one, the bull of men, while he was dwelling in solitude. So I approached that Sambuddha, Sumedha, the chief of the world, and holding up hands pressed together, I said to him, the best Buddha, with your permission, great hero, O world's best one, O bull of men, I shall light a lamp for you while you meditate beneath that tree. That wise one signaled his assent, the self-existent, best debater. I then contrived a mechanism. By piercing through some tree trunks there, I set afire 1,000 wicks. For the Buddha, the world's kinsman. For a week I kept them all lit, and then those lamps were extinguished, due to the pleasure in my heart, and that intention and resolve, discarding my human body. I'm born in a divine mansion. There was a pillar well proportioned. For me born in that divine state, it blazed forth on every side then. That is the fruit of giving lamps. On every side for a whole league. I myself shined forth at that time. I surpassed all the other gods. That is the fruit of giving lamps. For 30 eons, king of gods, I exercised divine rule then. No one at all neglected me. That is the fruit of giving lamps. And also 28 times. I was a wheel-turning monarch. Both day and night I could then see an entire league surrounding me. With knowledge of 1,000 worlds, I see in the dispensation. The divine eye is now attained. That is the fruit of giving lamps. That Sambuddha named Sumedha lived 30,000 eons hence. To him a lamp was given by me, with a mind that was very clear. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. like elephants with broken chains. I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the four analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Anuruddha Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Anuruddha Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 5. Puṇṇa-Mantāniputta. I was a learned mantra knower, who had mastered the 3 Vedas. Heading up my group of students, I approached him, the best of men, Pajamuttara, world knower, sacrificial recipient. The great sage then proclaimed to me, karma with the explanation. After having heard the teaching, and having worshipped the teacher, I held my hands up pressed together, then departed facing the south. Having heard the explanation, I then preached with more expansion. All the students were delighted to have listened to my words then. Quitting my own philosophy, my heart was pleased in the Buddha. Then I preached with explanation, and with the further expansion, a knower of Abhidhamma, clear about the Kathavatthu, providing instruction to all. I'm living without defilements. 500 eons after that, I was lord of 4 continents, the clever Supakasaka, possessor of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Puṇṇa-Mantāniputta Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Puṇṇa-Mantāniputta Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 6. Upāli. In the city Hasavat, the Brahmin known as Sujata was very rich with great vast wealth, having saved 800 million. I was that learned mantra knower, who had mastered the 3 Vedas. I had excelled in sadhana, in reading signs and history, a great many female renouncers, with single top knots, ascetics, who followed Rishi Gautama, were wandering around back then. They then came and surrounded me, thinking, he's a famous Brahmin. The common people worshipped me, but I worshipped no one at all. I saw no one worthy of puja. I was fiercely proud at that time. The word Buddha did not exist yet, as the victor'd still not been born. When many days and nights had passed, the leader, Pajamuttara, Eiffel One, arose in the world, dispelling all of its darkness. When his dispensation had been explained and spread to many folks, then he, the Buddha, did approach the city called Hasavati, in order to assist others. The Eiffel Buddha preached Dhamma. At that time his large retinue extended for an entire league. An ascetic named Sunanda, with the favor of the people, then pleased with flowers everyone. In that Buddha retinue there, on a superb flowered platform, he explained the 4 noble truths. Dhamma comprehension was reached by 1 trillion beings who heard him. For 7 days and nights Buddha rained forth a shower of Dhamma, and when the 8th day then did dawn, the victor spoke of Sunanda, this one transmigrating in lives, in the God's world or that of men, being most excellent of all, will transmigrate through his lifetimes, in 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama, will be the teacher in the world, worthy heir to that one's Dhamma, Dhamma's legitimate offspring. He will be that teacher's follower, named Mantāniputta. The Sambuddha spoke in this way to Sunanda the ascetic, causing all the people to smile, and displaying his own power. With hands pressed they showed reverence to ascetic Sunanda then, acting in accord with Buddha, he purified his future state. And this thought then occurred to me. on hearing the words of the sage. I also shall act in that way, until I too see Gautama. Having thought in this fashion I then considered the deed I'd do. What karma then should I perform? In this unrivaled merit field? This bhikkhu known as Phika is ranked first in the Vinaya, and all the recited teachings. I will aspire to that status. I had immeasurable wealth, analogous to the ocean. With that wealth I caused to be made an ashram for the monks and Buddha. That ashram, known as Sabhana, was built to the east of the city. I spent 100,000 coins, then built that monastic ashram, constructing gabled cells, mansions, platform stages, and also caves, and making a well-made walkway. I built that monastic ashram. I caused a bathhouse to be made, with heated rooms and a fire room, beneath the water storage hall, and gave it to the assembly. I gave everything they would need: short chairs for sitting and recliners, vessels for cooking and eating, and medicines for the ashram, then providing it protection. I had a solid rampart built, so none would do it any harm, a place for peaceful meditation. I built that monastic ashram, with locks of quarters for the monks, and filling them abundantly. I then approached the Sambuddha. I've completed the ashram now. Please may you therefore accept it. I'm gifting it to you, hero, and the residents, Eiffel One. Pajamuttara, world knower, sacrificial recipient, discerning what I was thinking, then accepted it, the leader, learning of the acquiescence of the omniscient one, great sage. After the food had been prepared, I announced the time for giving. When the time had thus been announced, Pajamuttara, the leader, along with 1,000 arahants, then came to my splendid ashram. Discerning the time to sit down, I entertained with food and drink. Seeing that they'd finished eating, I then spoke these words to him. This ashram, known as Sabhana, cost me 100,000 coins, and building it cost so much more. Please may you therefore accept it. Because of giving this ashram, with intention and firm resolve, being reborn in lifetimes I should receive what I'm wishing for. The Buddha having accepted that well-made monastic ashram, seated in the monks' assembly, then did speak these words about me. This one who gave to the Buddha a well-made monastic ashram, I shall relate details of him. All of you listen to my words. He said, the army with 4 parts, tusker, soldier, chariot, horse, will ceaselessly wait on this one, fruit of a monastic ashram. 60,000 instruments and well-decorated kettle drums will ceaselessly attend this one, fruit of a monastic ashram. Women numbering 16,000, decked out in all the ornaments, with varied clothes and jewelry, and wearing earrings made of gems, with long eyelashes, lovely smiles, and slim waists, pleasant to look at, will ceaselessly wait on this one, the fruit of a monastic ashram. He'll delight in the world of gods, for 30,000 eons hence, 1,000 times the king of gods. He will exercise divine rule. Whatever a god-king obtains, he too will receive all of that, not lacking anything at all. He will exercise divine rule. 1,000 times he's going to be the wheel-turning king of a country. His reigns on earth will be many, innumerable by counting. In 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama, will be the teacher in the world, worthy heir to that one's Dhamma, Dhamma's legitimate offspring. This one will be that teacher's follower. His name will be Upāli then, excelling in the Vinaya, skilled in right and wrong conclusions, furthering the victor's teaching. He will live without defilements. Having recognized all of that, Gautama, bull of the Sakyas, seated in the monks' assembly, will place him in the foremost place, doing service beyond measure. Longing for your dispensation, I have now fully reached the goal, in which all fetters are destroyed, just as a man tied to a stake, fearing punishment by the king, finding no pleasure in that stake, would wish only to be set free. So too am I, O great hero, afraid of rebirth punishment, being bound to the karma stake. I'm scared of desirous feelings. I find no pleasure in existence, being burned up by the three fires. I am seeking liberation, like one punished by the king does, just as a person who's been poisoned, who's racked with pain because of that, would seek after an antidote, a way to destroy that poison, and seeking should he find a cure that's able to destroy poison. Drinking it he would be happy, to be set free from that poison. Just so am I, O great hero, like him struck down by the poison, pained because of my ignorance. I came for the Sadhama cure, searching for that curing Dhamma. I saw the Sakyan dispensation, the best among all medicines, by which all arrows are removed. Drinking that Dhamma medicine, I have destroyed every poison. I have seen tranquil nirvana, which does not age and does not die. Just as one frightened by a ghost, racked with pain because of that fear, would seek after an exorcist, to free him from that ghost's attacks, and seeking should he find a man, with skill in exorcising ghosts, that one would slay the ghost for him, and wipe it out right to the root. Just so am I, O great hero, pained because I'm sunk in darkness. I searched for the world of knowledge, that could free me from this darkness. And then I saw the Sakyan sage, cure for darkness and defilement. He drove out my mental darkness, like the exorcist does the ghost, diverting the stream of being. He held back the craving waters, obliterating all rebirth, like the exorcist to the root, just as a harpy who swoops down on snakes to serve as his own food, will launch attacks from a great lake, 100 leagues in each direction, and that one picking up a snake would hurt it right beneath the head, then carrying it take off again, flying about the sky at will. Just so am I, O great hero, just as strong as is that harpy, searching for the unconditioned. I washed away all of my stains. I have seen the superb teaching, the peaceful state so unsurpassed. Carrying it I'm now dwelling, like the harpy with the serpent. There is a vine, Asavati, which grows up in Indra's garden. A single fruit is born by it. After 1,000 years have passed, the gods are looking after that, as long as the fruit may last there. Thus indeed the gods do savor that superb vine, Asavati. For 100,000 years then, I did attend upon that sage, worshipping him morning and night, just like the gods Asavati, service which was never ending, and worship which was not empty. For all the time that I had come, not one moment did he fail me. I witnessed no re-becoming. I've investigated being, free of desires and fully free. Calmed I'm wandering about now, and just as a lotus flower blooms due to the rays of the sun, so too do I, O great hero, bloom because of the Buddha rays, just as male birds are not always found mating with the female cranes, but only when the clouds do rumble, do they take them to their wombs, and for much time they stay pregnant. As long as the clouds don't thunder, then they are freed from that burden. When the clouds are raining again, so when the Dhamma cloud thundered, of Pajamuttara Buddha, due to that Dhamma cloud's loud sound, I then conceived a Dhamma womb, serving for 100,000 eons I bore that merit fetus. I was not freed from that burden. The Dhamma cloud did not thunder, but when you, sage of the Sakyas, did thunder from your Dhamma cloud, in lovely Kapilavastu, I was set free from that burden. Then I explained the whole teaching, and also its 4 fruits, which are emptiness, the absence of marks, suchness, intentionality, the second recitation portion, giving service beyond measure, longing for your dispensation. I have now fully reached the goal, the state of peace without rival. I have excelled in Vinaya, just as had the sage Fika. There is no one to rival me. I further your dispensation. I'm without any doubts about the letter as well as the spirit of both Vibhangas, Kandakas, and the Parivara the 5th, skilled in rebuking, redressing, in correct and flawed conclusions, restoration and expungement. I have excelled in all regards, citing the relevant sentence. in the Vibhangas and Kandhakas, and disentangling both of them, I make suitable restorations. Well skilled in the Pali language, wise in what's meaningful and not, there's nothing that's not known by me, foremost in the teacher's teaching. I am now skilled in all matters. In the Sakyan dispensation, I resolve all perplexities, and cut off every single doubt. I am skilled in all the subjects, prior clauses, subsequent ones, in the letter and the spirit, opening frames, concluding ones, just as a king with great power, who having rebuked enemies, and triumphing in his battles, might build a city in that place, and he'd construct in that city many ramparts and trenches too, gateways with strongholds and pillars, and high watchtowers of various sorts, and well-planned bazaars at crossroads, and places where four roads do meet, and there he'd build a court of law, to settle meanings and lacks thereof, to censure all unfriendly kings, to make known faults and faultlessness, and for protection he'd appoint a general of the army there, in order to protect his goods. He would appoint a treasurer, one with skill in guarding treasure, commanding, "Do not waste my goods," so that procedures are followed. He'd give the administration to a friend, the king's devotee, desiring his prosperity. He'd appoint as his advisor one with much skill in reading signs, as well as omens which arise, a learned master of mantras, thereby endowed with all these limbs. He would be called a Kshatriyan. Always they would protect the king, like a goose protects the injured. Thus indeed are you, great hero, Kshatriyan with slain enemies. You are called the king of teaching, in this world including the gods, having destroyed the heretics, and Mara with his army too, driving out that cause of darkness. You built a city of Dhamma, moralities the ramparts there, your knowledge the gates and strongholds, faith in you the pillar wise one, restraint the sentry at the door, mindfulness is the high watchtower, you wisdom is the crossroads, sage, the superpowers, where four roads meet, the Dhamma roads well constructed. Your court of law consists of the ninefold teaching of the Buddha, the Suttas and Abhidhamma, and the whole of the Vinaya, emptiness, the absence of marks, dwelling wanting very little, desirelessness and cessation. All of these form your Dhamma hut. At the top of those with wisdom, and skilled in understanding too, the one known as Sāriputta, general of your Dhamma army, wise in the four sudden events, excelling in the superpowers, the one who's known as Kalita, is your top advisor, O sage, bearer of the ancient lineage, hard to approach of mighty power, foremost in ascetic virtue, Kassapa's prime minister, sage, the learned bearer of Dhamma, reciter of all the teachings, the one who's known as Aññākoṇḍañña, serves as your Dhamma guard, O sage, passing over all of those monks. The blessed one did reckon me best explainer of Vinaya, and gave my judgments authority. Whatever Buddha follower raises some Vinaya question, there without my even thinking, I relate the answer to that, throughout the entire Buddha field, except of course for you, great sage. In Vinaya there's no rival. Where would someone better come from? Seated in the monks' assembly, Gautama thus thundered forth then, there's no rival for Upāli. In Vibhangas and Kandhakas, teacher's ninefold dispensation, as far as the Buddhas preached it, is all found in the Vinaya, for one who knows it to the root. Remembering my past karma, Gautama, bull of the Sakyas, seated in the monks' assembly, did place me in the foremost place, having served 100,000 eons while longing for this place. I have now fully reached the goal, excelling in the Vinaya. I was formerly a barber, bringing the Sakyas happiness. The son of the great sage was born, after I'd abandoned that clan. In the second aeon ago, there lived Kshatriyan Aññākoṇḍañña, of boundless might and measureless fame, king of the earth and very rich. I was then the son of that king, the Kshatriyan named Kandana. I was puffed up with pride of clan, and pride about my fame and wealth. 100,000 elephants, decked out in all the ornaments, enwrought in 3 ways, tagas, waited on me all of the time, wishing to go to the garden. Surrounded by my army, I mounted the elephant Sārika, then headed out from the city. The lonely Buddha Devala, abundant in perfect conduct, self-controlled with doors well guarded, approached my city at that time. Driving Sārika the tusker, I insulted that Buddha then. Due to that, with ire arisen, he would never lift his foot. Having seen my tusker's bad mood, I got angry at the Buddha, having harassed the Sambuddha. I then went into the garden. I felt no pleasure in that moment, as though my head were set ablaze. I was burning up with anguish, just like a fish caught on the hook. I felt the whole earth was burning, all the way to the ocean's edge, going to my father's presence. I spoke these words to him just then. My insult to that self become one, is like a very angry snake. It's like a mass of fire that's come. It's like a drunk tusked elephant. It's awful that I've insulted. That Buddha, victor, fiercely strong, will bring our cities all to ruin. Let's seek the pardon of that sage. If we don't make him understand, that self-tamed one, self-controlled one, then on the 7th day from now, my country will all be destroyed. Sumakala the Kosian, and Sagava Sosatuka, after they'd insulted sages, came to grief as did their armies. Whenever sages get enraged, well-trained ones who are celibate, they cause the world to be destroyed. With its gods, oceans, and mountains, I assembled all the people, throughout 300,000 leagues. In order to discuss that crime, I approached the self-become one, wearing wet clothes, bearing wet heads. Everyone pressed hands together, falling down at the Buddha's feet. I spoke these words to him just then. Please show forgiveness, great hero. The populace is begging you. Please extinguish this awful fire, and don't destroy the whole country. All the gods and also the men, and titans and spirits as well, would constantly break my head open, with a hammer made of iron. Fire does not survive in water, and seeds don't germinate in rock. Worms don't survive in medicine. There's no anger in a Buddha, like the earth which is unshaken, and the ocean beyond measure, and the sky which has no limit, so the Buddha can't be perturbed. Great heroes who are ascetics, are patient and forgiving folks. Such patient, forgiving people, do not consider your wrong course. The Sambuddha, having said this, then extinguished that awful fire. Then, in front of everyone there, he flew right up into the sky. Wise one, due to that bad action, I attained inferior birth. Now passing beyond that station, I've come to the fearless city. Then, great hero, having seen me, well settled but being burnt up, that self become lonely Buddha, drove off the fire and forgave me. Even so today, great hero, you have extinguished the 3 fires, relieving me who was being burnt up by those self-same 3 fires. Let those of you with ears to hear, all of you listen to my words. I'm declaring the facts for you, of how I came to see this state, sneering at the self become one, peaceful-hearted and attentive. Today, due to that bad karma, I am born in this low-caste womb. Don't transgress even one moment. You will grieve for the moment missed. The moment is prepared for you. Endeavor now for your own good. The poison called haha, in some is cured by vomiting. For some the antidote is purging. For others medicinal herbs. With reference to merit field seekers. For those on the path the cure is vomit. For those after path fruits it's a purge. For the fruit attainers, medicinal herbs. Those who would oppose the teaching are poisoned as with haha. A snake's venom, poison eaten, surely is going to harm that man. Only once does haha bring about the end of one's life. After opposing the teaching, he burns for 10 million eons, patiently and non-violently, with loving kindness in his heart. Buddha helps this world with its gods. Therefore you shouldn't oppose him, unattached to getting or not, whether honored or insulted. Buddhas are steady like the earth. Therefore they shouldn't be opposed. The sage is just the same toward all. Devdatta the murderer, the thief Angulimalaka, Dhanapala and Rahula. They don't experience anger. Passion is never found in them. The Buddha's just the same toward all. A murderer or his own son, seeing a robe atop a tree, discarded, smeared with excrement. One should press the hands, head bowed. That sage's flag should be worshipped. All of the Buddhas of the past, and the present and future too, purify themselves with that flag. Therefore they ought to be worshipped. With my heart I bear Vinaya, almost the same as the teacher. I will always live my life by paying homage to Vinaya. Vinaya's my inclination. It's my walking meditation. I make my home in Vinaya. The Vinaya is my pasture. I have excelled in Vinaya, skilled in mental tranquility. Great hero teacher Upāli is now venerating your feet. I'll wander village to village, and also city to city, paying homage to Sambuddha, and to the practice of Dhamma. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Upāli Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Upāli Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 7. Akoa, Sambuddha Pajamuttara, was the best in the world, the guide. I saw him first when he had just achieved that state of Buddhahood. All around the Bodhi tree's roots, spirits were gathered together. Surrounding the Sambuddha they worshipped with hands pressed together. All the gods had delighted minds as they flew around in the sky. This one has become a Buddha, dispelling the darkness of night. A huge din was being produced. By them overcome with laughter, we'll destroy our defilements. In Sambuddha's dispensation, having heard the words of the gods, that majestic speech they uttered, I gave him his very first food, happy and with a happy heart, discerning what I was thinking, the teacher peerless in the world, seated in the gods' meeting hall, then spoke these verses about me. Leaving the world a week ago, today I reached awakening. This one's given me my first rice, a celibate monk's sustenance. I shall relate details of him, who coming here from Tusita, presented this almsfood to me. All of you listen to my words. For 30,000 eons he will exercise divine rule, overpowering all the gods. He will reside in heaven then, falling down from the world of gods. He'll go into a human state, 1,000 times a wheel turner. He will reign there for a long time, in 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama, will be the teacher in the world. Falling down from heaven again, he'll go into a human state, going forth from the house and world. He will dwell there for 20 years. In the 7th year after that, the Buddha will declare the truth. He whose name will be Koa will be the first one to grasp it. When he set out I too renounced, and great effort was made by me, so as to destroy defilements. I went forth into homelessness, approaching the omniscient one, Buddha in the world with its gods, did beat the drum of deathlessness. In the dear forest named Isi, he has now achieved deathlessness, the unsurpassed and peaceful state, knowing well all the defilements. Without defilements I now live. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Akoathera spoke these verses. The legend of Akoathera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras.
Astotais Piṇḍola-Bhāradvāja.
The victor Pajamuttara, the self become one best person, did dwell in Sataka then, in front of the Himalayas. I was then the king of beasts there, fearlessly going on all fours, hearing the voice of that Buddha. Many folks were assembling then, picking up a blooming lotus. I approached him, the bull of men, and gave it to the Buddha when he'd risen from meditation. I worshipped from 4 directions, the best Buddha, ultimate man, and bringing pleasure to my heart. I then roared out a lion's roar. Pajamuttara, world knower, sacrificial recipient, sitting down on his own seat then, uttered these verses about me. Knowing that Buddha would speak, the gods all came together thinking, the best one, the Buddha has come, let us listen to his teaching. The world chief, the far-seeing one, the great sage Buddha then explained the meaning of my roar before those gods overcome with laughter. I shall relate details of him who gave me this lotus flower and who has roared a lion's roar. All of you listen to my words. 8 eons in the future he will be a wheel-turning monarch, possessor of the 7 gems, a lord of the 4 continents. He then will reign over the earth for 4 more than 60 lifetimes. He will be known as Paduma, a wheel-turning king with great strength. In 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world. This one will be a Brahmin when the Buddha's words are broadcast then. Leaving behind his Brahmin-ness, he'll go forth in the Buddhist way, being one bent on exertion, calmed, devoid of grounds for rebirth, knowing well all the defilements, he'll reach nirvana, undefiled. Though of a frightful clan of beasts, living in the deepest forest, knowing well all the defilements, he'll reach nirvana, undefiled. My defilements are now burnt up, all new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Piṇḍola-Bhāradvāja Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Piṇḍola-Bhāradvāja Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 9. Khadiravaniya Revata, the river named Bhagirathi, is fed by the Himalayas. I, a boatman on the near bank, ferried folks over the rough ford. The Lord named Pajamuttara, the Sambuddha, the best biped, with 100,000 arahants, will need to cross the raging stream, getting many boats tied as one, very carefully by workers, and having made a covering, I honored him, the bull of men. When the Sambuddha had arrived, he then climbed onto that large boat. In the middle of the river, the teacher spoke these verses then. He who ferried the Sambuddha and undefiled assembly across, due to the pleasure in his heart, will delight in the world of gods. A divine mansion will arise, well made for you, fixed on a boat, which will always sail across the sky with a floral canopy. In the 58th aeon thence, he will be a wheel-turning king, victorious on all 4 sides, Kshatriyan named Tra. In the 57th aeon, he'll be the king named Kampaka. With mighty power he will shine, just like the sun when it rises. In 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama, will be the teacher in the world. Falling from the highest heaven, he will go to a human state. He'll be a kinsman of Brahma, He will be known as Revata, setting forth from the house and world, incited by his wholesome roots. He'll renounce in the teaching of the blessed one named Gautama, and later on, once he's renounced, bound to the rule contemplative, knowing well all the defilements, he'll reach nirvana, undefiled. My effort bearing the burden brought me release from attachments. Now I'm bearing my last body. In the Supreme Buddha's teaching, karma done 100,000 eons hence showed me its fruit here. Well liberated, arrow quick, I have destroyed my defilements. Seeing my fondness for the woods, the sage who reached the world's end, the great sage therefore did rank me foremost among the forest monks. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered, I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Khadiravaniya Revata Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Khadiravaniya Revata Thera is finished. Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. 10. Ānanda, setting out from the ashram's door, the great sage Pajamuttara was reigning the reign of deathlessness and quenching the population. 100,000 hero monks, strong with the special knowledges, were surrounding the Sambuddha like shadows that never depart. I was on an elephant's back with a superb white umbrella. Having seen his beautiful form, great happiness arose in me. Dismounting from the elephant, I approached him, the bull of men, and raised over the best Buddha my umbrella, made of gemstones. Pajamuttara, sage so great, discerning what I was thinking, halting the talk he was giving, then spoke these verses about me. He who's hoisting this umbrella, adorned with ornaments of gold, I shall relate details of him. All of you listen to my words. Having gone on from here, this man will dwell in Tusita heaven. He'll experience happiness, being honored by divine nymphs. He will exercise divine rule, for in 30 different times, 108 times a strong king, he will reside upon the earth, and he'll be a wheel-turning king. 50 different times, he will exercise on the earth uncountable regional reigns, in 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan. The one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world. He will be a close relative of that flag of the Sakyan clan. Ānanda will be his name then, attendant of the sage so great, ardent striver, intelligent, and wise in terms of many truths, humble in action and yielding. He'll recite all the Buddha's words, being one bent on exertion, calmed, devoid of grounds for rebirth, knowing well all the defilements. He'll reach nirvana, undefiled. There are elephants in the woods, tuskers who are 60 years old, tagas rutting in 3 ways, chariot pole tusks, vehicles for kings. Like them there are numerous locks of wise men with vast superpowers, all of whom are not astonished at the Buddha elephant's might. I worship in the beginning, in the middle and at the end. With a pleased heart and happy mind, I attend on the best Buddha, ardent striver, intelligent, one who knows truly, mindful one, arrived at the stream enter fruit, skilled in the training bases. I brought forth the karma which I did 100,000 eons hence. I have now achieved that station, firm, unwavering in Dhamma. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Ānanda Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Ānanda Thera is finished. The summary: the Buddha and the lonely Buddha, Sāriputta and Kalita, Kassapa and Anuruddha, Thera and Upāli, Koa and Piṇḍola, and Revata Ānanda the wise, 650 verses. Adding them all together. The Buddha chapter of the Upadana, the first,